I'm Ben Polk, and the book I reviewed was The Silicon Eye by George Gilder. Some background on the book: it details the story of the company Foveon, and Foveon is a manufacturer of digital camera imagers. And they did imaging chips, and those are basically the chips inside digital cameras, which are responsible for capturing the light and colors and getting the information required to make the image. Gilder also gives a pretty good overview of the challenges facing Foveon as they try and market their product. And overall, I thought it was a pretty interesting read. It did offer some valuable insights into the world of digital imaging, and I definitely learned some things. So a brief explanation of camera imagers. A picture is made up of a lot of really small squares of color called pixels, and there are two prevailing methods of capturing the information of each of these pixels. One method, the traditional Bayer method, collects only the red, green, or blue shade of any given pixel, so you end up with kind of a mosaic of different colors, and then it guesses the shade of each individual pixel based on the colors of neighboring pixels. So it kind of uses a software algorithm to kind of actually guess the way the picture is supposed to turn out. The Foveon method actually collects all of the light of all colors in every pixel. There's no guesswork required, and this intrinsically creates a better image from the camera. So the first thing Gilder gets into in his book is kind of a brief history of the major players in Foveon. First and foremost is Carver Mead, and he was a Caltech professor and researcher for a long time before moving on to the business sphere. There's also Dick Lyon, who is another Caltech. He was a Caltech student of Mead and also a professor there for a little while. There's Dick Merrill, and he is, quote, not one of those Caltech guys. He actually started his career as a carpenter before becoming an electrician and then studying electrical engineering at the University of Vermont. But Carver Mead describes him as one of the most creative engineers I've ever met. And finally, there's Federico Fagin, and he is, according to Gilder, and this was kind of a controversial claim I found, but according to Gilder, he's like the father of the microprocessor. So he's got a lot of, he's kind of a paragon of the industry in Silicon Valley. So next, Gilder gets into the history of Foveon. It began in Carver Mead's Caltech lab, which is nicknamed Carverland in the book, where he was trying to create computerized retinas and cochleas, which are the what's in your ear that lets you hear. Many students were instrumental to the projects, and Gilder gives a brief overview of some of the students, such as Tim Allen, Dave Gillespie, and Michelle Mahawald. And all of this research in Carver's lab eventually led to research in neural networks, which are basically computer systems that are designed to deal with complex nonlinear tasks like pattern matching and image recognition, all that kind of stuff. So from this research in neural networks, Mead went on with Fagin and his new company, Synaptics. Synaptics is responsible for an invention I'm sure everyone here is very familiar with. They actually came up with the touchpad device for notebooks. So anyone who's ever used a touchpad on a notebook has some familiarity with the Synaptics work. Tim Allen and Dave Gillespie also followed Mead to this company. But touchpads weren't the only focus here. While he was still there, Mead continued to research digital imagers and trying to create computerized versions of retinas. Synaptics and National Semiconductor eventually partnered, and they put all of Mead's imager work into a new company called Foveon. Dick Merrill joined Dick Lyon, Carver Mead, and Federico Fagin at the new company. Dick Merrill is actually the one who's mainly responsible for the company's success. He had an ingenious chip design, which is still mostly a company secret, that allowed the new imager to kind of take off. And Foveon is now partnered with Sigma to produce cameras. So if any of you have ever used a Sigma digital camera, you're using a camera with Foveon's handiwork inside. And then that image to the right is to the left is actually a picture taken with a Sigma camera. So after detailing the history of the company, George Gilder goes on to detail some of the challenges facing Foveon. And the main problem is that imagers are one of the most profitable Japanese industries, and existing technologies are backed by such titans as Sony, Canon, and Nikon. So those large companies have a lot of interest in preserving the existing technologies. So Foveon is up against a very large challenge to displace them in the camera imager market. Many, including Clayton Christensen, author of The Innovator's Solution and The Innovator's Dilemma, feel that Foveon cannot directly compete by making just plain cameras. They feel that Foveon must make their imager a disruptive innovation in order to actually succeed as a company. And the main way they'd be able to do that is by marketing it into mass market things such as cameras found in cell phones and computer monitors for webcams and the like. And this is all possible because of Foveon's design. They use just one single chip to capture the imager information. So they can market this one chip very cheaply, produce it by the millions, and put it in a lot of different devices. And it, as I was saying before, intrinsically creates a better picture and video quality. So that's kind of what many critics view as their ultimate path to success. Some remarks on the book. Overall, Gilder pretty eloquently unfolded the story of Foveon and all of the major players. He gave a lot of depth to the characters and was a very good narrator along the ride. I would definitely recommend this book. It was pretty interesting. He poetically describes things such as wafer fabs, which are factories, and neural networks, such as the quote I have up there. There were some drawbacks, however. Some passages and descriptions were very technically complex, such as the passage I have up there. It made some parts of the book very hard to understand, and I found that when Gilder took time to try and actually explain the technology, it kind of bogged down the book and made it much less understandable. So I ultimately found that this distracted from the characters and narration and made the story worthwhile. So if you do read the book, I would suggest mostly skimming over these parts, as they aren't really important to the big picture of the book, which is the story of Foveon and the challenges it faces as it tries to displace the incumbent camera industries. But like I said, overall I would recommend this book. It was definitely an interesting read, and if you do read it, you'll definitely learn some things about digital cameras. We're excited. That's it.